Good morning. My name is Allie and I live in Wisconsin. I'm here to talk about my experience with Nicole and the shamanic healing that she did with me over the phone last week. I've been trying to hone in on what I want to talk about because it was a really amazing experience that I could go on about for hours, but I want to start by saying that Nicole is extremely gifted and a very powerful healer. She's also very professional and comforting, so I would highly recommend anyone who's interested in her services to give this a try. I was a little hesitant about connecting with her long distance as she's in Colorado, but I am not disappointed with my experience whatsoever. In fact, it was extremely profound, and it's a week later and I'm still processing it and kind of in awe of what we went through. So Nicole asked me to touch a little bit on how I felt before the session, during, and after. So that's kind of how I'm going to structure this video. So before going into it, I've got a unique relationship with Nicole because she is married to my cousin. So I think we consider each other family, although I don't get to see her as much as I would like. But I definitely, from the first time I met her, could tell that she was gifted. And I'm also a very spiritual person, and so that's kind of what led me to reach out and seek her services. So before going into it, I'm in graduate school right now, and I'm studying to be an art therapist. Right now I'm going to school for social work, and I've got a fine art degree as well. So when I heard about what she did, I was, obviously intrigued and wanted to kind of explore what the way she connects to the spiritual world and how she uses that to help heal other individuals. So that's sort of what drove me to do this. And some questions that I generated before speaking with her was, okay, I know that I can sense my guides and the spirits around me, but I don't know how to channel that into like a direct message. I don't know how they're trying to communicate with me. I just see them. So that was one thing that she really helped me work on and clarify, was, okay, she's like, okay, what do you see? How do you see them? And I explained to her the sort of visual clairvoyance that I have experienced my whole life. And then she used that information as sort of a tool to guide my journey. So some other things that I sort of meditated on before the session was, my career. I'm going to be graduating in less than a year, and I want to be able to be the best therapist and healer that I can. And I know this past year has brought up quite a few things with me internally and personally that have been affecting the way I work with people. So one of the things that she also helped me with was understanding that I'm a Pisces, I'm an empath, and that can lead to difficulties with boundaries. So before we started the hypnotic state of the shamanic journey, she sort of said, like, okay, this is your sign, this is why you have issues with boundaries, like you're constantly giving and you don't always know how to kind of stand up for yourself and give yourself a backbone. So that was one of the focuses also during the session. And then that kind of bled into not only my career, but my personal relationships as well, and sort of like patterns that have occurred through my life that I'm not always necessarily comfortable with, and a lot of that has to deal with setting up my own boundaries and kind of letting these relationships in my life sort of be aware of and understand what is healthy for me. And that's definitely something I'm trying to work on. So she totally helped me with that, and she gave me some tools, sort of like kind of doing ritualistic cleansing before and after my sessions with my own clients. And she explained it as sort of washing away the energy that is not mine, and that she mentioned using sage practices, and as well as Himalayan salt. So those were some other things that she helped me sort of understand. Another thing we worked on was sort of past issues, past wounds, pain bodies, as she called them, that might still be affecting what I go through today, and kind of creating obstacles that are preventing me from reaching my full potential in my present life. So one of the practices she recommended to me that I can't wait to try is, she called it the inner child exercise, and sort of recognizing and understanding some moments in my past that were particularly painful, that I hadn't necessarily healed yet, or in the right way. And what she said to do was to get a photograph of myself as a child, or, you know, at those certain points in my life that pain occurred, and to just sort of like send healing energy literally to that photograph, and like speaking to the photograph and saying like, it's okay, this is like positive energy coming to you, like, and sort of creating a relationship with the kid version of me. So I'm already feeling that healing taking place based on the conversation we had last week, which is awesome, and I definitely intend to explore that further in myself, and hopefully to other people that I work with in the future. So all of this is sort of, this was like an hour into our conversation, sort of talking about these things, and this was before she started the actual shamanic journey with me. And I didn't really know what to expect as far as her process with the actual healing that she did. And this was my first session with her, I should say. And so she kind of mentioned like she's got a routine that she goes through with each of her clients for the first time. And then if your guides come through while you're in this dreamlike state, then we can, you know, sort of follow their lead instead of doing like the cookie cutter version of her traditional first session. So at this point, you know, after I told her sort of what my intentions were and everything, she had me relax, and I was in the guest bedroom at my parents' house, and, you know, had headphones in, and she led the session over the phone. I had a few candles lit, and I had some stones and crystals that were particularly important to me just kind of around, and my cat was there. And so she had me just sort of relax and take deep breaths. That was a huge thing that I think everybody can benefit from, whether you're doing this session or not, is focusing on breathing instantly made me feel relaxed and calm and sort of entering this like meditative state. So at this point I was blown away with how just naturally soothing Nicole was. She had like, her voice changed. It was like she went from, you know, friend / therapist to like shamanic healer within a moment. And her voice was just very calm and relaxing, and it was almost like listening to a meditation tape, and, you know, being kind of hypnotized. And she explained it like, you're gonna go into like this state that is sort of like hypnosis. And it really was. I was conscious the whole time, but it was just like, you escape from reality, and your eyes are closed, and it's like you're in a dream, which was really profound and not what I was expecting at all. and it was really beautiful and peaceful. So she started by getting me in that relaxed state, and then the other thing I really loved about it was the use of visual imagery and the visual tools that she implemented through the session. So, you know, it started like, okay, you're traveling through space, and then at one point I was on like a silver pool, and it was at that moment that I think my own spiritual guides or whatever started coming through. I remember being Nicole led me to like this silver pool, almost like it would be Mercury or something, and then she said, okay, now you're totally safe here, you're comfortable, imagine yourself standing up. And then in this moment, my own stuff just like kind of took over, and I saw the way that I started to experience things was sort of like if you close your eyes and you see, you know, those like blotches of color and light. It was like that. So immediately when I stood up on this pool of mercury, I saw like this flash of rainbow light like going into a certain direction. And so immediately, you know, I told Nicole, I was like, okay, this is what I see, what do I do with this? And she was really awesome at being like, okay, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Let's follow it, sort of thing. So the guide that sort of led this experience was this sort of like bright indigo flash of light, like almost like a star. And it was a feminine energy that was basically around right here throughout the whole journey. And this spirit, if you will, is what Nicole and I decided to follow instead of going through like the traditional shamanic healing process for the first session. So it was a really beautiful experience. It was very visual and very clear. There was no question, like if I wasn't feeling anything or picking anything up, it would just be, you know, black, like when your eyes are closed. But she led the session and had me ask questions to these like spirits or guides or whatever, and I would immediately get visuals of what they were trying to tell me, or, you know, whatever. So I have this book that this was given to me as a gift from the place I just finished interning at, and it's really cool. It's like an accordion kind of book. So I decided right after this, I decided to sketch everything out of the things that I saw and what I experienced. And so I just started it, but I'll send Nicole some pictures when this is all complete. But like basically, if you can see, I just started, like, this is the light that we followed. So like here we are shooting through, and then there was like a moment where she showed me like all this kind of foliage like in space, and the messages throughout were really relevant to what Nicole and I talked about in the beginning of the session. So like these guides took me out of body and was like, okay, look at, this is where your experience is like on Earth right now. And I could just see like all this foliage like in my face. And another destination, if you will, was Nicole had me ask the guides, where am I from? Where are you from? And so immediately I saw this like rush of blue and purple like iridescent liquid, and it was just flowing through space. And so this is the one that's most developed right now, but I'm in the middle of kind of trying to visually explore what that was like, because that was definitely the most profound part of the experience. And while I was there, you know, Nicole was really good at like, why are you here? What is the message that is trying to reach you for, you know, seeing this place or feeling these emotions or whatever. And while I was there, I felt like I was part of this pool, like I was my own being, but I was part of like this flowy liquid in space. And it was like, oh my gosh, I feel free, this is where I'm from. And she was like, oh, you know, it sounds like there's no boundaries, like where you're from. And, you know, we kind of touched on that being like why one of my biggest issues on earth is that of boundaries, because where I'm from, they don't exist, and you just sort of like flow through each other, and these energies are just constant and give and take. And the Nicole and the guides made it very clear, like, I'm not gonna last long on earth if I don't have a backbone. So I can keep my heart open, and especially in the healing work that I do, it can be a gift to have that sense of boundaryless energy. But at some point it's going to be important for me to define what I'm okay with, and in order to protect myself and the people in my life that I'm working with or that I have personal relationships with. So while we were talking about this, and again, it sort of felt like a therapy session, but in a dream, like I was sleeping and I could see all these beautiful things. But anyway, so as we were talking about this, I felt these two like silver plates being placed on my back, like almost like a shield, but in the back. And Nicole was like, okay, that is a gift. Take that with you. She's giving you a backbone. That is your gift to bring back to reality. So after that, there were several other unique moments and messages that I got. That was definitely the most profound. And then after we decided, okay, you know, to kind of come back to the original healing, the original journey, we started going through the rest of the chakras, and I ended up sort of like meeting each light energy that lives inside of me. Each one had their own persona, their own gender, their own visual uniqueness. So that's another thing that I'm working on in this little book, on the opposite side of this accordion. So like each page is going to be dedicated to a different chakra that I met. And again, I'll sort of share that when it's colored and finished. But it was really profound, and I wanted to really capture like what each of those energies felt like and what they meant to me, because we talked about how each one is part of who I am. So to wrap up the session, Nicole had me envision this snake, and she can chime in here and explain what that healing process is called, but she had me envision this dormant snake in the root chakra, and it's sort of like this next level of enlightenment. And she was like, ask your guides, like, if you're ready for that. And it was like a unanimous yes. So basically the snake kind of woke up and like traveled through all the chakras and out through the crown, and it sort of woke everybody up and got all of the chakras to sort of this next level of awakening, of spirituality. And there was a little bit of grieving that went into that, because what I knew my chakras to be is not how I see them now. And so it was sort of like my soul was like, okay, you know, it's time to say goodbye to what I thought they were, because they're gonna grow, and that's part of what the snake symbolized too, like the fear of change. But it was definitely, Nicole helped me get to a place where I didn't need to be afraid of that change, because everything was growing and getting more enlightened and essentially better. So the snake woke me up, and I instantly felt, especially the heart chakra, bloomed into this like huge I pictured it as like a weeping willow tree. So that's what this one is going to be. Like, it started as a seed and then kind of like grew into this like flowy tree of life, if you will. And then everything else was sort of more aware. And we also worked on some of the other areas that were a little bit weaker and had them sort of meet each other and heal each other. It was very profound and very beautiful. And she then left me in the hypnotic state to go to sleep so that I still could dream while being kind of hypnotized and present with my guides and everything. And I have still been having very profound dreams that it would be too much to explain right now, and I'm still trying to process it myself, but very vivid, very real, potentially some premonition stuff that I'm still trying to understand. But yeah, I had a great experience. It was last Monday, so just happened to correlate with the eclipse that happened yesterday, which was also pretty powerful. But yeah, since then I've just felt a lot more confident. For the first few days after the session, it was sort of like this vertigo feeling, like a little bit of dizziness, a little bit of a headache. But I still see the guides. In fact, I'm like more aware of the messages that I get every day, and it makes me happier. Like I've seen these my whole life, and now I just kind of have a deeper understanding of what they mean and what they might be trying to tell me. And I feel like a lot of the anxiety I had attached to those things is shed. And yeah, and my solar plexus chakra is definitely a little more awake and alive right now. I think that is the one that held a lot of my childhood pain. So she's kind of waking up. And yeah, I definitely will never forget this experience, and hopefully I can have another session with her in person and see if we can't discover some more things. But yeah, Nicole's amazing, and even just being able to speak with her and getting to know her is kind of a magical experience in itself. So thank you, and I hope that made sense, and I'll follow up with some illustrations and whatever else I come up with, and as I'm still processing all of it. But yeah, it was a great experience. So thanks, Nicole.